Welcome to the AlphaWarrior Show. We're excited to share diverse perspectives and expert insights with you. Please note that the views and information expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the AlphaWarrior Show, its management, or our partners. Each of our affiliates and sponsors and partnerships is a separate entity, and their opinions are their own. Today's content is provided for information and educational purposes and should not be taken as specific advice, whether it be financial, medical, or legal. While we strive to present accurate and useful information, we cannot guarantee its completeness or relevance to your specific situation. We provide all information as is and encourage you to consult with a professional advisor to address your specific individual needs. Your use of any information from this broadcast is entirely at your own risk. By listening further, you agree to identify and protect the AlphaWarrior Show and its associates from any claims or damages arising from your use of this broadcast content. Changes to this disclaimer may be made at any time and will be done effectively immediately upon posting or broadcasting. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope you find the episode both informative and thought-provoking. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to the next generation of warfare, psychological warfare. In modern conflict, the mind is a potent weapon. Discover General Michael T. Flynn's groundbreaking guide, The Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare. Unlock tactics, strategies, and the mindset to navigate this cognitive battlefield that we all find ourselves in. Equip yourself against manipulation and emerge unscathed. Unleash your potential. Order now.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the AlphaWarrior Show. I am your host, Alpha. We got another good one lined up for you. Returning guests. That's right. Back to back to back. Mike King. You guys have been checking out his website, scrolling across the bottom of the screen, down in the description. And after the last two-part series, he said, hey, man, I got something we could talk about. He mentioned it to me, and I said, you know what? That's a time-sensitive show. What am I talking about? You guys are going to hear about Trump tonight. This is going to be very interesting and very important. So before we do that, let's get to some amazing sponsors, and then we're commercial free. They do the whole entire content of this show. So support the people that support this show. Once again, if you're listening while you're driving, no need to stop and pull over. All the links for my sponsors, affiliates, and partnerships are down in the link below. So I'll see you guys in just a few moments.
Science proves that a healthy immune system is the body's first defense against the smallest of ailments to the most catastrophic. Coriolus versicolor is the most sought-after, all-natural supplement for both humans and pets to help boost the immune system. There are over 400 studies worldwide on its effectiveness in humans, including Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and now from the University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine. Together, we can help reverse this terrible tide now plaguing your loved ones and give them the immune-boosting supplements that they need.
I'm excited to announce we're having a huge MyPillow spring sale, and here's a few examples. Buy one of our MyPillow 2.0s, you get another MyPillow 2.0 absolutely free. Made with cooling technology, the best pillow ever just got even better. And this just in, 9 brand new colors and styles of our Percale bed sheets. They're made with the finest long staple cotton, and now you can save 50% or more. That's as low as $24.98. And for the first time this year, I'm bringing you our My Slippers and Sandals for as low as $25 a pair. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get your MyPillow 2.0s. Buy one, get one free. Percale sheets as low as $24.98. My Slippers and Sandals as low as $25 a pair. And for a limited time, when you order $75 or more, your entire order ships absolutely free.
I can jam to that a little bit longer. AlphaWarriorBeef.com. Get your beef. No mRNA, nor hormones, none of the poisonous stuff, just beef the way our creator intended it. My Pillow, my store, promo code Alpha works at both of those. And then, of course, Pet Club, links down in the description for your pets and for you. Now, let's get ready to rock and roll. Let me bring up my guest, everybody. Mike King, realnewsandhistory.com. I'm ready, man. I'm ready.
Hello, everybody. When, like you said, this is a timely topic we're going to discuss tonight. I call it Trump's secret war against Israel. And I think a lot of people, when they hear that, they're going to be a little confused or sound surprised, especially within our own community. There's people saying, "Oh, he's so far up Israel's ass. He loves Israel. He promotes Israel. He's a Zionist, et cetera, et cetera." And I'm here to tell you that that is a total misconception. Precisely the opposite is true. He has been at war with Israel. Not necessarily the Israeli people, but that corrupt, ultra-nationalist, imperialistic, murderous regime with Bibi Netanyahu as its head. That greasy bunch which blew up the World Trade Center, he's been at war with them. Now, people say, well, I don't see it. Well, that's just it. You're not supposed to see it. Why? I'm going to read you a post from Q. This is a very early post dating back to November 14th, 2017. So this is only his second week of posting, Q. Q post 151. How do you capture a very dangerous animal? Do you attack it from the front? Do you walk through the front door? Do you signal ahead of time that you will be attacking? Think about it. Of course not. Now, what is this very dangerous animal? Well, there's only one. It's the cabal. Okay? Headquartered in Israel, branch offices in London, Paris, New York. But that's the dangerous animal. How do you approach it? If you were given the task of subduing a lion with nothing but, your bare hands, you're not going to confront them head on. How foolish is that? It'll tear you to pieces. How do you do it? I know how I would do it. There's actually a fellow in South Africa who does this. He approaches lion prides and he befriends them. And he ingratiates himself to them, and eventually the pride accepts him just with his bare hand. But he coaxes him. He talks at night, gets a little closer. If it was me, I would give it a nice big cut of that steak you just advertised. With his trust, when he goes to sleep after dinner, you bash him over the head with a rock. That's how you would do it. That's how you approach a dangerous animal. Not by full frontal assault. The Jews, like some of these knuckleheads in our community. You know what I'm talking about. Would have us do. That will get you nowhere, because you have to respect the power of your adversary and work around that. If you're playing chess, you just can't play your game. You have to play your adversary's game too. Okay? Or if you're in a boxing match, you have to respect the opponent's punching power and his strategy. You can't just always do what you want to do. That's the way it is. It'd be foolish to disrespect a powerful adversary, especially the cabal. So, how do you approach a dangerous animal? I just gave you my answer, but now I want to show you. If you could pull up that clip. We spoke last week about this little clip from Godfather 2. Very popular movie. I'm sure all the boomers in your audience have seen it. Maybe some of your younger guys have. You ought to rent it. It's classic. Godfather 1 and Godfather 2. But I'm going to set this up. The character, Michael Corleone, he's the godfather of the Corleone crime family now, played by Al Pacino. He has just survived an assassination attempt at his home in Nevada. The assassins machine gunned his bedroom with him and his wife in it, but they survived. He knows who did it. He knows who gave the order. A big Jewish gangster in Miami called Hyman Roth. But how does he play it? He doesn't go directly after Roth. He pretends that he doesn't know it was Roth. He makes Roth think that that he thinks it's someone else, and he wants to win his trust. So that's kind of the backstory. So if you can run these clips and watch very closely, and those who've seen the movie will very much appreciate this, as well those who haven't seen it yet.
All right, here we go.
I want you to help me take my revenge.
Michael, anything. What can I do?
Settle these troubles with the Rosado brothers.
Mike, I don't understand. I don't have your brain for big deals. But this is a street thing. That Hyman Roth in Miami, he's backing up those son of a bitches.
I know he is.
Then why? Why do you ask me to lay down to him, Mike?
It was Hyman Roth that tried to have me killed.
Jesus Christ. Look, let's get them all. Let's hit them all now while we got the muscle.
My father taught me many things here. He taught me in this room. He taught me to keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. Now, if Hyman Roth sees that I interceded in this thing, in the Rosado brothers' favor, he's going to think his relationship with me is still good. That's what I want him to think. I want him completely relaxed and confident in our friendship. Then I'll be able to find out who the traitor in my family was.
There it is. Keep your friends close, your enemies closer. So then he flies down to Miami, goes to Hyman Roth's home, and he says to Hyman Roth, Frank Pentangeli tried to have him killed. That's the guy he was just talking with. So Frank Pentangeli is analogous to some of the overly passionate people in our movement. You saw him. It's like, let's hit them all now. We got the muscle. No, it's not how we're going to do it. So he goes. He makes Hyman Roth think that he's kissing up to him. He says, oh, you're a great man, Mr. Roth. We could do business together. Whole time he's plotting against him. Make a long story short, in the end, he kills Hyman Roth. He rubs him out. After he got close to him and after he extracted information from him that he needed, he whacked him. That's how you approach a dangerous animal, going back to that Q post. And that is what Trump is doing, and I'm going to prove that right now.
I'm fired. Listen, Mike, I'm fired up because this is the one battle, man, that is just doesn't go away. You know, people send me videos and clips, so I am stoked because every time now when I come to the battle, I'm going to be like, you want the answer? Here's the link.
There you go.
Here's the link. Go watch it. There it is, man. I don't even have to expend it.
Hey, let me tell you something. The author of The Godfather, Mario Puzo, he said something that I found out only in recent years. It was interesting because I have been saying it forever. But he actually said this too. He said, if you want to know how the world works, watch The Godfather. Because everything is in there. I mean, they got false flags, crisis actors, I mean, all in their own world. That's how they manipulate.
Well, even the statement, even the statement he said right now, I'm going to find out who in my family betrayed me.
Right.
People got to understand. Trump knows there's people in his circle that need to be exposed still.
Sure.
I mean,
Absolutely. He's run a lot of these smoke 'em out operations. So he is the Donald. And this is how it goes at that level of the world. This is how it operates. Trump made his bones as a real estate guy in New York. Okay, he knows these people. He has swam with them, bumped elbows with them for decades. He is uniquely qualified for this role that the military operation has cast him in.
you know what?
So,
Why don't people recognize that, Mike? For as much research as we have done,
right.
Trump has lived this. The guy had time that he shared with the famous sicko Jeffrey Epstein,
Yeah.
Ghislaine Maxwell. You know, the Clinton, like he danced in these circles, whether it was Hollywood, the music industry, the modeling industry, real estate, you know, the FBI cooperating with them in the casinos. Like
That's
this,
right.
this man knows all of that.
Right.
And you're gonna think that he can't put this together? Like, man, I'm stoked, man. I'm stoked. Let's roll.
So, well, Trump, his equivalent of Al Pacino going down to Miami and having a sandwich with Hyman Roth, telling him how great he is, was when he shows up with Bibi Netanyahu matching blue ties, and they had all these photo ops. I stand with Israel. Goes to the Wailing Wall, puts the little hat on, right? Just goes out of his way to say how much he loves Israel. And then he starts with Islamic terrorism. We got to stop Islamic terrorism. Iran bad, on and on and on it goes. And I want to tell you how good the deception was early on. And I was a strong supporter of Trump from the beginning in 2016. Mainly because I knew what Hillary Clinton was. It was the fear of Hillary Clinton. But he got elected. I said, okay, let's see what he does. And early on, he starts with all this talk. I love Israel, Islam bad. And then I think it was maybe March or April of 2017, very early in his administration, puts out a tweet. Assad of Syria, he's an animal. We're going to be bombing him. Putin, you can't stop us. I'm like, what the hell is this? You remember when he bombed Syria?
I do.
A lot of people were upset. He lost me. As far as I know, I was the first one to coin the term Trumpstein. I said, there he goes. He's another one, a neocon. That's come to find out a few weeks later, he bombed an empty field. And he tipped off Putin, who's Syria's protector, in advance. So it was all a show. It was a fake out. And then he did the same thing with North Korea. And it took me a few months to figure it out. I said, he's playing them. He's saying things. He's doing cosmetic stuff. He moved the embassy to Jerusalem. He made a big deal about that. That ain't no big deal, okay? Because it's been a long time. 70 years ago, they made West Jerusalem Arab, East Jerusalem Jewish. So now they moved the U.S. embassy to East Jerusalem. It's not a big deal, but these gestures served to win the trust of not only the Jewish neocons and the Netanyahu Likud crowd who thought he was going to attack Iran on their behalf. You got to remember, there's 30 million whacked out Christian evangelical Zionists who they are more pro-Israel than any ultra-Zion. They're fanatics because there's a whole story there. It's called the Schofield Bible. It was a con man named Schofield. He was paid to corrupt the Bible. He put these annotations in there, basically says God will bless us if we bless Israel, etc. So these are hardcore, some of these Christian evangelicals. So if you deviate from the pro-Israel line, they'll turn on you. And that's a major constituency in the Republican Party. So Trump's got to deal with this. But this is how he did it. With all of these cosmetic gestures, and they are cosmetic because in the big scheme of things, they're not a big deal, but he made them a big deal. He won everybody's trust, which is what allowed him on the down low to do the important stuff against Israel, which I'm going to get into. Any questions so far?
You know, I got a lot of questions, but I'm like, I'm sure he's gonna they're gonna get answered. But I know there's people that are gonna be watching this and be like, well, Mike, but the embassy is kind of a big deal, man. You know, the symbolism, I'm sorry, of that, you know, and there's a lot of people that believe, and I'm not super well versed in this, but I do understand it, that there's certain chains of events that have to take place according to Jewish belief,
Right.
you know, as far as the churches, and a lot of people see that these are the tipping stones or the tipping point to making that unravel. But I'll hold those to the end in case we don't address them
Sure. Well,
during the show.
going back to my chess analogy, in chess, you give up pieces sometimes in order to gain better position on the board, or in order to gain a piece of equal or greater value. Okay? Like I was saying earlier, you can't just play your game. So these concessions have to be made. But when I get into the stuff that he did against Israel, you'll see in comparison, it's like giving up a pawn to capture a queen in chess.
And how do we know that he had prior contact with Putin to give Putin the heads up with regard to the bombing?
Oh, that came out in mainstream media.
Okay.
They said that he alerted Putin that he was striking.
Gotcha.
Okay. And then we also learned nobody got killed. There was minimal damage. The whole thing was a show. And Trump will do this often. Whenever like they would throw a huge pressure bomb at him from the fake news and his enemies, he would do something that appears that he just gave them what they wanted, but it's all for appearances. So it's like talk one way, act one way, but never deviate from the real important stuff, such as Epstein's Island. Okay, everybody knows about Epstein's Island, Ghislaine Maxwell. People need to understand this may have been Israel's number one irregular weapon of warfare. It was a blackmail operation. So all those celebrities who went down there, journalists, academics, politicians, and it wasn't just the island. Epstein had property in Florida, a ranch in Mexico, a huge townhome in New York, and this has been going on for 25, 30 years. How many people were ensnared? This is a honey trap with children. Okay? That's it. Once you go to Epstein's Island, man, Mossad owns your ass, period. As well as the other properties. There's another sex cult called Nexium, run by, they had a frontman, Keith Raniere, but it was the Bronfman sisters, whose daddy was chairman of the World Jewish Congress. Honeypot operations. Who shut them both down? Under what president? What Justice Department? Trump. It was Jeff Sessions on his way out the door, his last day in office. Shut down and raided Epstein's Island. So now all of this blackmail dirt that Mossad had on all of these powerful people, guess who has the dirt now? Commander Trump in the Q operation. That is a massive blow that was struck against Israel. So, you know, don't tell me, oh yeah, but he put the beanie on and he lit a menorah at the White House. Are you kidding me? He shut down the Israel honeypot blackmail child sex operation.
So he put himself in a position to say, hey, you know, Mr. Jones Smith from Hollywood, you remember that thing that Mossad had leveraged against you?
Yeah.
Well, now I have it leveraged against you.
That's
so
right.
You're going to go on your social media platform and you're going to say this, or you're going to go do a sound bite. You're going to sound like this. Is that what I'm gathering here?
Yes. Let's make a deal.
Oh shit.
It's all flipped around. All those pieces you owned, I just took them.
Okay.
It's totally Israel. Ghislaine Maxwell, you know who her daddy was?
Yes.
Robert Maxwell, big Jewish media mogul, known Mossad agent. Books are written on the subject. When he died, he was given a funeral with honors in Jerusalem at a special place, I guess the equivalent of their Arlington National Cemetery, and all the old heads of the Mossads attended. That's his little girl. and whom I believe he was intimate with. I have reason to believe that. Sick people. But she was the power there, not Epstein. And her real partner was Les Wexner, Victoria's Secret, another one of those CEOs who mysteriously resigned after Q told us that CEOs were going to be resigning. That was Wexner's money. Jeffrey Epstein was just a math teacher. Sharp guy, good with numbers, but he came out of nowhere and he's supposedly a billionaire. No, Les Wexner gave him everything, sold him properties for $1. Okay? Total Mossad. And if Hillary Clinton was elected, you think that island would have been shut down? Are you kidding me? Ghislaine Maxwell was at Chelsea's wedding. Ghislaine Maxwell's nephew had a job at the State Department when Hillary was there, given to by Hillary. Okay, so they're all in cahoots. So that is major, a major blow struck against the Israel power structure by Donald Trump. All the while saying, I love Israel. Okay. Okay, what else? Harvey Weinstein. Let's go to Harvey Weinstein. Big time Zionist Hollywood media mogul. Total degenerate, untouchable. How many women did he rape? How many women did he pressure into having sex so they can get a career? Some of these women were actually raped.
Governor Newsom's wife.
Yeah. They couldn't touch him. Nobody could touch him. Trump gets in there. That whole Me Too movement, that's a military operation. Q even told us, essentially. And there's even people in Hollywood who suspect that because Trump hated Harvey Weinstein, that he had his hand in this stuff coming out. So where did these women all of a sudden, and they're legitimate victims, but all of a sudden they got the courage to come out? Who gave them that courage? Okay? The Godfather did. So Harvey Weinstein, biggest man in Hollywood, huge founder of the Democrat Party, huge pro-Zionist guy. He's gone. Trump did that. Okay? What else we want to talk about? Oh, ISIS. Okay? The Israeli Secret Intelligence Service. That was a mercenary army. It was funded by Mossad and CIA. The purpose of ISIS was to destabilize targeted countries. Total Israeli operation. And they were so active in Syria because the Zionists were obsessed with getting rid of Assad in Syria because they wanted to expand into Syria and Iraq. And so they unleashed this mercenary army. They did horrible things, real gangsters recruited from the prisons of the Arab world. But that is a CIA Mossad army. And they became active, ISIS and their affiliates. They call them affiliates. I guess it's like a Burger King, you start up an affiliate in all these different countries. But at one point, they were active in like 30 different countries across North Africa, the Middle East, even going into Asia. ISIS. Remember ISIS every day. That's all you heard about is ISIS. They're huge. 2017, this is mainstream media. I show you the headline. That Trump pulled the funding for what was called, I'm going to read you the headline right here. I think I have it. Okay, New York Times, 2017. Trump ends covert aid to the Syrian rebels trying to topple Assad. Assad, number one enemy of Israel. They want him gone. But Trump steps in and saved Assad. He ended the funding for the so-called moderate rebels, but that's all a scam. There's no moderate rebels. There was just one mercenary force, CIA Mossad. It's like Putin said, how do you distinguish between a moderate rebel and an immoderate rebel? It was ISIS. Trump cut their CIA funding. It's right there, New York Times. So they begin to wither up and dry. They don't have the money anymore. Meanwhile, Putin, who works in secret with Trump behind the scenes, is bombing the hell out of the ISIS on the ground. So, and that finished off ISIS. No money, Russian bombs, Assad was saved, and now Syria is in the process of being rebuilt. Trump saved Assad of Syria. So if he's an Israeli stooge, a Zionist puppet, Trump, he's not a very good one, because that was their number one target, Assad, and ISIS was the vehicle to take him down, and Trump killed that. So he killed ISIS. He finished off Harvey Weinstein. He shut down Epstein's. You're seeing the pattern here? And these are weapons of enormous value and irregular warfare that Israel no longer has. But it continues.
But let me
Go
jump
ahead.
in real quick, Mike, because I want people to understand when we say irregular warfare, what were these weapons being utilized for? Like with the Harvey Weinstein and Jeffrey Epstein's island. This is the way they control. This is the way they got their hands in the pockets of our politicians. For the ones that couldn't be bought off, this is where the leveraged information, the blackmail, that's where that originates. So to shut down that kind of operation is to shut down a major facet of how they control and influence all the institutions of our government, politicians, judges, law enforcement, every aspect, was being run through these types of blackmail operations. So when Trump shuts that down, essentially what he's doing, he's limiting or removing the ability for them to maintain that kind of control or get new control. So when we say irregular warfare, that's kind of what Mike's talking about there. I mean, there's a lot to it, but that's a main one to it. And I'll give it back to you, Mike.
Precisely. And to use a football metaphor, the wonderful thing about it, it's like if you intercept a pass in your own end zone and you run it back 100 yards, you not only took away 7 points that the other team was about to score, you got 7 on your own the other way, because now all of these crooks, they're under your control, okay? The old dirt that was on them is on you. You want to make a plea deal? What do you know? What can you tell us? You want to die or you want probation? And they got them all. It's incalculable what a coup that was to take down Epstein's island and the Nexium sex cult. Here's another one, just as big, if not bigger. The neoconservatives. Quick history on the neocons. In the 1980s, a bunch of Marxist Jewish intellectuals all of a sudden had a conversion. They said, you know what, we're not Marxist liberals anymore. We've seen the light. We're conservatives. We want to support Ronald Reagan. Irving Kristol, Norman Podhoretz, Midge Decter. I mean, books were written about this phenomenon back in the 80s. There was just sudden left-wingers who converted, and they proclaimed we're conservatives now. Well, the real American conservatives, okay, the traditional conservatives, they just went gaga. They're like, oh, isn't this wonderful? All of these Jewish liberals are conservatives now, and they welcomed them into their publications and organizations. It was a penetration job. They eventually took over, okay? Their real agenda was Israel first. That's what the neocons are all about. And they weren't just Jewish because they had their henchmen, like Dick Cheney, okay, those type of people. George Will. So it was a big movement in journalism and in government. They claimed to be conservatives, but everything with them was Israel, war, take down Saddam Hussein. I mean, this is the bunch who demanded a big regional war, PNAC, 9/11, William Kristol, Robert Kagan. You know what I'm talking about, right? But this was a major force, the guiding force, the controlling force even of the Republican Party, because they had snatched it away from the original MAGA conservatives. When Trump came on the scene, they knew what he was and what he represented. He smoked their asses out. They all went against him, and they ended up endorsing Hillary Clinton. All of these neocons, George Will, Podhoretz, Krista, right down the line, right? These are the guys who say, oh, we're conservatives. We're Reagan conservatives. Now, Trump smoked them out. So when they came out for Hillary, and then Trump won, They were done. There's no coming back to the Republican Party. Nobody wants anything to do with them. Their magazines lost all of their subscriptions, their circulation, smoked them out. And he attacked them viciously by name. He used to go after these people. Even just a few weeks ago, he's posting that he reposted, somebody posted that Liz Cheney should go on trial for treason, and Trump reposted it. Okay? He purged the Republican Party of the Israel First neocons. They are out of business. Do you know what a loss that is for Israel and Netanyahu and all that crowd to lose that? They lost the Republican Party. And they lost so many congressmen and senators have been replaced. So when Trump comes back and there's the new Republican Congress, it's a MAGA America First Congress. There ain't going to be no more wars for Israel. That's a fact. Trump destroyed the neocons, another Israeli weapon. So again, we see this pattern. He's ripping Israel's fangs out and their claws out. They got nothing.
I appreciate this too, Mike, because one of the things that I tell people, and I think we might have talked about this, last week, offline, but when people are like, well, but Alpha, look, he made this Zionist statement and this Zionist statement. And I kind of tell you how I approach some of those conversations. Well, you say Israel controls our media, right? They're like, well, yeah, heck yeah, they do. And you say Israel controls our government, right? Yes, of course they do. And you say Israel controls our Department of Justice, right? Yeah. Okay. So when Trump attacks the media, calling them fake news,
right,
he's really attacking Israel because they control the media. And so when Trump says drain the swamp and starts exposing all these neocons and what you're talking about, he's really attacking Israel because these are the people Israel has leverage against to control our government.
Right.
And so when Trump comes and says, hey, Jack Smith and all these judges and, they're all, look at this judge was tied to Jeffrey Epstein and this, was an attorney from over here. He's exposing the connections to Israel. So yeah, he might have made a Zionist optical statement in the news, but these are devastating blows to Israel's control of the institutions that have control of us. And nobody's really been able to kind of argue that because you can't. And as I'm listening to describe this is what I'm hearing.
Right.
Like, yeah, he does these things on the media to satisfy, like you said, these Zionists, Christian Zionists that don't even realize, that they're so, propagandized and controlled. But the actual moves he's making on the chessboard, he's saying, here, take the pawn, but taking the knight, taking the bishop, taking
take my pawns. Absolutely.
That's what I'm seeing here.
And what does Q say about chess? He says, when do you go after the king? In the beginning of the game or the end? Q actually said that. So this is the way you do it. As you're striking these blows, keep proclaiming your love for Israel. That's perfect. It's a smokescreen and it conceals everything. That's so important because historically, the number one weapon that the cabal would destroy their adversaries with is they drop that anti-Semitism card. Okay, racism, anti-Semitism, and you're done. You get tagged with that. So Trump, by going over the top with this, professing his love for Israel, he's immune to that. Okay? And I think it worked out really providentially that his daughter's married to a Jewish real estate guy. Okay? People get upset with that. I think that's fortunate. I mean, they can't tag him as anti-Semite. And that allows him to do all this stuff, confront Israel. Headline, I found this headline from Washington Post. Neocons loathe Donald Trump. Okay. Another one. He calls Jeff Zucker, quote, human scum. So to your point about look at what he says and how he denigrates the media and people like Jeff Zucker, calls him human scum. But he doesn't call him a Jew. Why would you do that? How self-destructive would that be? There's no need to even bring that in there. So he's attacking all of the Zionist chess pieces without, what is it these knuckleheads say? You got to name the Jew. Well, it's easy for you to do on your keyboard, not in his position. Okay? What else you want? He called Jeff Zucker human scum. He's out at CNN, and Trump's got his people running CNN now. And slowly but surely, the reporting, it's very subtle. They're not as strident anti-Trump anymore. There's a lot of truth gems that sneaks in there. There's a reason for that.
It's been very interesting. I would say right now, at least 2 times a week, this is tremendous. At least 2 times a week, I'm like, fucking CNN just told the truth.
Yeah. You noticed that, huh?
I'm like, what? You know what I mean? It's like, yeah. It's and I'm not the only one. A lot of people are like, I'm reposting CNN right now because the shit they just said's the truth.
Yeah.
Like, what?
MSNBC too.
Yeah.
And I do an almost daily feature called the Anti-New York Times. Well, I'll go through that propaganda sheet, the paper of record, pick out a story and then correct it, tear down all the lies, all the bullshit. I've been doing this for 13 years. I might have to change the name of it to the Pro New York Times. I'm telling you, almost every day. Take it from me, someone who's been reviewing this paper every day for 13 years. I'm like, wow, this is in the New York Times. It's happening all the time. They're dropping truth gems. They're still keeping the liberal propaganda in there because they got to keep their street cred. But it's unmistakable. They've dialed down the intensity of the anti-Trump hatred from like a 10 to a 1. They're humiliating Biden. Everybody's jumping on Biden. And then they're throwing all these truth gems in there. They're under military control. Commander Trump's running the military. I mean, he's running the media. There's no question about it. How do you account for this type of abrupt, radical change? It really is a radical change if you know what to look for. So, there you go. He's taken all their institutions head on. Hollywood, academia, okay? He's just doing it perfect. He's like, I love Israel. Boom. I love Israel. Boom. I love Israel. Boom. The words conceal the devastating body blows that he has dealt to the Zionist entity, which is now an international pariah, and it's going to get worse. And speaking of the Middle East, Trump, and I'll show you articles like in the Foreign Affairs to support what I'm saying here. I back all my stuff up. They say that Trump left the door for Russia and China and Iran to be the dominant players in the Middle East. And that's a fact. They engage in war game exercises every year. Russia, China, Iran. There ain't going to be no big regional war in the Middle East for Israel to expand from the Nile River in Egypt to the Euphrates in Iraq. That was the ultimate pipe dream they had. It's not going to happen. U.S. is basically, we're out of there. And there will never be another American war for Israel. That I could tell you. It's China, Russia, and Iran now are the powers in the region. It didn't happen by accident. It was engineered by Trump. So the Israeli mad dog is confined to its kennel. So this big dream they had that out of 9/11, they were going to get the United States to attack Iraq and Syria and Libya and Iran and then Sudan and then Egypt and finish out. This is all, what's that? What was that general? Wesley Clark. Do you remember he rattled off all the countries? He said he was told that this is the plan that's coming out of the Bush-Cheney White House. They're going to go to all these countries one at a time. That was the neocons. That's done. And it's Trump who engineered that. Trump and Putin. So, what else has he done here? We talked about Harvey Weinstein, Jeff Zucker. Okay, there's a headline from 2020. This got a lot of secondary coverage, and Trump did this deliberately. He's given an interview. I forgot the publication. He says, F Netanyahu. Do you remember that? F-U-C-K Netanyahu.
I do.
Okay.
Because he didn't back us on something, right? Wasn't
Well,
that
what happened is evidently Netanyahu thought that the, I don't know, Biden was a legitimate character, but he was the first one to congratulate Biden. The whole time Trump is screaming fraud, voter fraud. Here's Netanyahu. Congratulations, President Biden. Because Netanyahu couldn't wait for Trump to get out of there. Because he knows he got played. He knows he got played. You mentioned last week that one incident where he's got Netanyahu standing there like a spanked ass, and Trump is talking trash, and Netanyahu's looking at him like he knows he got played. And he couldn't wait for Trump to get out of there. So he was the first foreign leader to congratulate Joe Biden, even while Trump is screaming fraud. And so then Trump said, F Netanyahu, bunch of news. That was a big story. And it was in Israel too. Fuck Netanyahu. Trump said that. What else did he say? He keeps talking about Netanyahu. He kept talking about him. He never wanted peace. He was never sincere about peace. So, I mean, tearing him, and even now, he's tearing him down. So, we see now, it's sort of like the closing of Godfather 2, where you see Michael feeling his oats and playing his hand with Hyman Roth, just like he planned it all along. Another one is Sheldon Adelson, the big casino mogul, big fund of the Republican Party, gave big money to Trump. Towards the end of the Trump administration, I got all the headlines I can show you. He was at odds with Adelson, and they say that he berated Adelson on the telephone, demanding more money. Trump telling him, I want more money. Adelson died the year later.
He's one.
About 80. Maybe they took care of him. Maybe he died natural causes. I don't know. But he's another one that Trump flipped on. Go ahead.
Is that the one his wife is super rich and gave a big sum of money to recently? Because I know a lot of people keep bringing that up.
Right. That's a big one that's come up because she's giving $100 million to various PACs in the Republican Party to support Trump. This woman ain't giving money to Trump. After all of this that I just explained to you, what's happening is Executive Order 13818. Trump's just taking people's money all over the place. That's what's happening. So now you got the enemy's money and you're using it for your own ends. AIPAC, the Israel lobby, same way, $100 million to Republican candidates. This money's I'm telling you, it's being confiscated. All you have to do is read the Executive Order 13818. We are under a national emergency. Under national, they're specific though. It's not a broad national.
Because you had about 2 months ago, maybe 3, you had Speaker Mike Johnson come out and say, I'm a wartime Speaker of the House.
Did he now?
He did. And everybody was like, wait, what? Everybody's like, well, what war are we in? Like, what's he talking about?
Yeah.
But if you know exactly what he's talking about.
A little calm there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll throw that link.
Trump said he was a wartime president fighting an invisible enemy. And they made fun of him. They're like, oh, he's calling COVID the invisible enemy. No. That's not what he's referring to. Trust me. But this executive order establishes a national emergency specific to the human trafficking and extreme corruption. And then there's another one with voter fraud. National emergency means that specific to just these issues, it's authoritarian dictatorial power. I mean, if we get a blizzard here in the winter in New Jersey, the governor comes on the radio, emergency, state emergency, off the roads. They tow your car, they can arrest you if you got no business on the roads, only emergency personnel. Because it has to be that way. Because if you're going to get 3 feet of snow and ice and wind, the plow's got to get through, right? You can't have knuckleheads stranded all over the highway. That's what emergency means. You have these kind of amazing powers, extraordinary powers. Executive Order 13818, national emergency for extreme corruption, can take you and your money. Pull it up, .gov website, read it closely. That's what's happening. Miriam Adelson ain't giving $100,000 to Trump after he just said F Netanyahu. The Adelsons and the Netanyahus were like this.
Let me bring this
that
up.
money's been confiscated. I'm certain of it.
Let me bring this up real quick, just so everybody can see. This one comes from MSNBC. I just went on the devil's Google right now. Why exactly does Mike Johnson see himself as a, quote, wartime speaker? House Speaker Mike Johnson described himself as a, quote, wartime speaker. In the end of quote, I wish it was clear exactly which war he was referring to. And this was dated April 17th, 2024. So I just wanted people to see it with their own eyes. There's multiple articles out there where you can see that.
No, these are called comms. I like to call them wink winks. They're thrown out at us. We're in the know. It's just to let us know what's going on. No accidents here. Just like that 9/11 painted on Trump's face that I showed you. There's a ton of these. Wink
I've
winks.
been telling everybody about that, man. And everybody's like, whoa, what? Like, same reaction I had, man.
Yeah. More evidence here. It's just piling up. Trump. Now, I coined the phrase Sulzberger's slimes for the New York Times when I started writing it 13 years ago. And I always mention Sulzberger. I make a point of that because nobody knows who the hell they were. The Sulzberger family, since 1896, it was a rich man named Adolph Oakes and his daughter married a Sulzberger. That's 1896. He bought the New York Times. So that's what? That's almost 130 years. It went from Papa Oakes to Sulzberger, to Sulzberger, to Sulzberger, to Sulzberger, to the son of the son of the son. So that makes the Sulzberger family one of the most powerful families in the world because the New York Times, I call that the lead flagship of the fake news armada. Okay. But nobody knows their names. You're not supposed to talk about, you don't mention the Sulzberger's name. Just mentioning their name, they'll say you're anti-Semitic, right? Trump, as far as I know, is the first public figure to mention him by name. This is what he says. They're Jewish people that run the New York Times, the Sulzbergers. And then it goes on and says, they hate Israel. So he not only outed the Sulzbergers, but he's doing this thing now where he's saying to leftist Jews, you guys hate Israel. You're not pro-Israel enough. And he's just putting them in a corner. He is divided. I will show you numerous articles on this in mainstream newspaper. This is a fact, known fact. AIPAC, the almighty Israel lobby, is at civil war with itself. The organization's imploding. It's falling apart. They're no longer united.
Really? I had no clue about this.
Oh, yeah, this has been going on. And you know why? Because what unified the AIPAC crowd was Israel, Israel, Israel. Okay. But they weren't all Marxists. Some of them are like left-wing radical Bolshevik Marxists. And some of them, maybe on other issues, like economically, they're quite conservative. Okay. So it was not monolithic across the board. The one uniting factor was Israel, Israel, Israel. Trump, with his rhetoric, his incendiary hard right rhetoric, calling himself America first, which is supposedly anti-Semitic because Charles Lindbergh said the Jews were trying to push us into World War II. And he was running the America First Committee. So when they hear America First, they go nuts. So on the one hand, he's antagonizing the hard left Marxist Jews, saying, who hate him, saying, after all I've done for Israel, that's how you treat me. You ought to be ashamed. Look at these evangelical Christians. They love Israel more than you. He continually taunts them. And then on the other end of AIPAC, because of all this pro-Israel rhetoric I've been talking about and condemning Islam and Iran, that's all for show. They love Trump. So now APEC, you have people who want to kill Trump and people who think he's so pro-Israel they love Trump. It's created a very big problem within APEC, and I can show you all the articles have been written about this. This is called divide and conquer, and Trump deliberately seized upon this divide and he put them against each other. Okay. And APEC, their influence is declining. And then you've got a whole bunch of people now attacking Israel and APEC from the far left that I believe are part of the military operation. And I said this from the very beginning. People said I'm nuts. I'm like, yeah, well, look at the results. AOC, Omar, the Rashid, these hard left crazies, the Democrat Party. What have they done? They have scared the hell out of many middle of the road people with their open communist rhetoric, and at the same time they openly attack Israel, and they get away with it. And I'm telling you, these are Trump's proxies. I do believe AOC is a military white hat, as crazy as that sounds. So he's played the game of divide and conquer. Now I just think they're taking AIPAC's money. I don't know if it's from the executive order or just from a threat, like give me your money. But AIPAC, and this is an unreported story, they do not have the influence they once did. And indeed, the whole world is turning against Israel. And the whole situation is going to be pacified over there. I think eventually it'll just be one country with an Arab majority. I really do. And Trump will be the one who engineered that. So even on that front, Trump struck a very devastating blow by contributing to the divide within AIPAC, exploiting it deliberately.
And I went and found one of these headlines just because it was too good not to want to show my audience. So let me bring it up right here. Trump blasts Netanyahu for disloyalty. Quote, fuck him. Oh, that is
okay.
That comes from Axios too. That's December 10th.
And it was picked up by a lot of other media in Israel, because he's feeling his oats now. Okay, see, he doesn't have, and it's interesting. Putin played this same game in Russia when he first came to power. The corrupt Jewish oligarchs ran that country. He made nice with them. He kept them close. Where are they now? He called them scum and traitors. They all left the country. They're in Israel, Dubai, UK. Very same people that Putin, early on, when he didn't have the power, kissed up to them. That's how you do it. Kiss ass until you can kick it. But now Trump is in the ass-kicking phase, and he don't care. Here's another headline, quoting Trump. Variety magazine, Trump lashes out at Jeff Zucker as human scum. Trump antagonizes GOP mega donor. That's Political magazine. Trump tells his allies he wants Netanyahu impeached. This was back in October, Rolling Stone magazine. Okay. And now just recently, this is last month, Trump tells ABC reports, Trump appears to blame Israel for anti-Semitism, says that Israel is making a very big mistake and is losing a lot of support. So now he's directly saying stuff himself. He's taking these shots. It's not just through his proxies. And then ultimately, when he goes after 9/11, and I believe he will, I mean, that's the ultimate right there. I don't think Trump has forgotten that. So that's where we are. I've been following this stuff a long time, many years, and I've never seen the Zionists in a position so weak. Are you kidding me? Netanyahu used to come here. He used to walk in and out of the White House, people kissing his ass. He'd go to the UN and speak. He'd go to European. Now he's a national pariah. See, I mean, you have to look at, the proof is in the pudding. They are not the power they once were. And like you said, the media doesn't have the power it once has. Now they're like reporting the truth. Hollywood. I mean, all of their, the Epstein's Island, and it's all gone. And still, you can expect Trump to throw a few bones to the evangelical Zionists. Okay, big deal. Big deal. You give up pawns all day long. We got all the rooks, the knights, the queens. That's the reality. So, I don't care if Trump lights a menorah at Hanukkah. I don't give a shit. It means nothing. Unfortunately, some of our lesser brethren can't figure that out yet.
I completely hear you on that one. To go back a couple moments ago in the conversation, or a little while ago, when you had brought up that, with Russia, Iran, and China being the dominating force that's out there in that region. So is that saying that Iran is not a bad guy, or that these are just affairs that's going to be left to that area? Like, how does that all look? Because I know what we've been sold on isn't the truth. And, I've talked to, some Persian people, Iranian people, and quite a few of them very pro-America.
Right.
But I also know that there is some kind of discontention within the ranks of the citizenry over there as well. Like, there's some that are pro-Iran, but not pro the Iranian regime. Their president just died in a helicopter crash. Yeah. I think they're actually starting to have their elections as we speak, or they're prepping it. I know they just filtered down the list down to, I think it was like 15 names or 12 names of who's going to be able to run for the presidency out there. But what is that for those that are hearing? Like, what do you mean Iran is part of this trio?
Yeah, they're not, in terms of their external policy, they're not aggressive country. They're not bad guys or funding terrorism. They help Hezbollah. Hezbollah is a self-defense force in Lebanon. The Zionists label them terrorists. I consider them heroic fighters. But the deal with Iran, it's deeply divided because, for so many years it was under the Shah, and it was like almost sort of like Western culture. Now it's Islamic. So internally, there's obviously like a bitter divide.
And we had a lot to do with that as well, right?
Well, certainly, yeah. Because to the extent that a lot of people in Iran perceived the Shah as an American stooge, that made him kind of unpopular, although he was no great fan of Israel either. But, that's internal stuff that they're going to have to work out. But as far as like any kind of like, external, funding terror, none of that's true. They're a peaceful country. The other stuff is just internal, but it's a deep divide. You got women who want to dress up and women who want to wear the hijab. It's like, how do you resolve something like that?
Yeah.
But no, they're, when Trump blusters against Iran, just like when he blustered against Syria and North Korea, that's all part of the game. So,
tracking, man. Very interesting.
Yeah. So that's the deal, man. Patriots are in control, and I mean they've got no weapons left. They really don't.
So let me ask you this, and you touched on it a little bit. What does Israel look like in the end? Like, if the board say we save Israel for last, and you see these moves that are playing out, people are like, well, is it a two-party state, or is it one? Does it completely just get fractioned out to the countries that are already in the region? Like, and I know there's a lot of speculation and being theoretical here, but what do you think it looks like in the end? Does the title Israel even exist?
I don't know what the script is. I'm sure the ending's been scripted. Everything's been scripted. But there's only two possibilities. One, you have a Palestinian state that's recognized and entitled to all protections of recognition, and then you have Israeli state, and that's the permanent peace. But then sometimes you hear talk about one state, equal rights, Jews and Arabs, and it's going to be an Arab majority, and they're going to have to learn to get along. So it'll be a biracial type state. And that's also a good solution. I mean, they already have an Arab party in their parliament. So it'll go one way or the other. That will be resolved. But most importantly, the idea of Israel, or the Zionism in general, being able to instigate regional wars and even world wars for its benefit, that's gone. That's part of the reason behind World War I. That's what they were trying to do when they tried to sink the Liberty. Okay, that's what 9/11 was all about. So this has always been an existential danger to really not only blow up the whole region, but get the world powers at war with each other. Because if they got us into war with Iran, Russia and China would have backed Iran. So it would have been, and then NATO. That's where we were headed with Hillary. So that's been deactivated thanks to Trump and the Q military operation. North Korea, South Korea, that's been deactivated. China is bound by treaty to fight on the side of North Korea. U.S. was bound to fight with South Korea. So that was another World War III hotspot. So all these things have been deactivated now. It's a new world. Okay? That I can say for certain. Never again will these sons of bitches get us into a war.
I mean, people don't realize how close we came to the edge of some of these world wars. Let me ask you this. So by Israel being, the Mossad, BB, the intel behind it, by that being removed, how does that affect the crown?
Well, all of this stuff is interconnected. The Rothschild banking consortium, even though they're at odds a lot of times with the Zionists because their focus is more on the world government, the operational power center would be the Mossad. Because as Q said, Mossad is above CIA. So Mossad, to the extent that they leverage the CIA, you leverage the whole world. Hitler said, he said this in the 1920s. I think he wrote this in Mein Kampf. Israel wasn't even a state yet, but there was this idea of the Zionist state, and he said they have no interest in setting up a Zionist state because they all want to live there. No, what they want is, quote, an international headquarters for their worldwide swindle. And that's what it was. And that was the basis. Is out of Israel, they ran the 9/11 operation, the Epstein's Island. So, if you take that out, when do you attack the king? Like Q said, the beginning or the end? The end. Who are they saving for the end? Who are they saving for last? Q boards? Israel. So we're taking out the king, which means everything else that's predicated upon it falls apart. And indeed it is. NATO's falling apart. I
want to read
comes back. I think he's going to deal with the Federal Reserve. I'm almost certain of that. So the thing is crumbling. It's just not, you have to kind of dig and look for it. But if you take the time and you're looking at the right sources, after a while it becomes obvious. Holy shit, it's happening. But we're not maybe going to see it in the public eye for another year, maybe when Trump returns. So
I want to ask you a question. This came from one of the audience members, and I told him, just write it out. I want to make sure because it's a very sensitive topic issue with regards to, this goes back to our last show with Hitler and Germany. And this was something that quite a few people were actually struggling with when the topic got brought up.
Sure.
And so I said, well, just write it and I'll read it to Mike direct, see if he has any info on it, or maybe you can look into it. But it's on, quote, here's the question. The forced sterilization of mixed race children, particularly those referred to as the, quote, Rhineland bastards under the Nazi regime, was a brutal and coercive process. Is this something that's true? Is it not true? Is it taken out of context? What is this? Because the struggle here was, well, You were
Yeah.
talking about, euthanizing people just because they're mixed race. How do we get behind that, or how do we say that's acceptable, or
No,
whatever the case may
no,
be?
they didn't euthanize anybody. They did. If you were like retarded or something like that, like really mentally incapacitated, there was sterilization, but nobody was killed or euthanized. Okay, there was a brief period of time where they had a law in effect where if there was like an extreme case of suffering, sort of like a palliative care, like they permitted that. But this whole business about euthanizing undesirables, that never happened. As far as sterilization of Rhineland bastard, I never heard that. The Rhineland bastards is a term for at the end of World War I, the French brought in a lot of their African colonial troops from places like Senegal and such. And there were rapes. There were a lot of rapes. And there may have been some cases where the woman took black French occupier as a husband. I don't know. But there was a small number of children born to French African fathers, and they were known as the Rhineland bastards. But they went to school. There's pictures of them going to school. It's a small handful. You see colored children in Germany. That's the first I ever heard of a forced sterilization. I don't know if I believe that, given all the other lies we've been told, but that is that's how that came about. A lot of those were conceived. They were the children of rape. There was rapes. There was one massive rape incident in a German subway. Troops from Senegal at the end of World War I. So, but no killing, euthanizing. No, there was none of that, and certainly there was no gas chambers. We could do a whole show on that. Did a whole show with Nino.
Someone mentioned that to me, and I was like, "What?" I was like, because that's what you were taught. I mean, 8th grade. They flew us out to Washington D.C. to go to the Holocaust Museum, and you see the shoes, you see the the way the gas chambers look. So very interesting. I wouldn't mind doing a show on that, because I know even when I first heard that, I was just like, "What do you mean there was no gas chambers?"
Yeah.
And there was a lot to that. I mean, there were. I'm just going off memory here, but it was like, it had to do with like, well, there was wood. It just, I won't go there because I'll just get people.
Yeah, there was wood. That's why I didn't even really touch too much upon it in our World War II presentation, because it gets to be so vast. It's a whole nother subject, and to really debunk it, I need to present the facts, which I have. So.
No, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, Mike, I hope that people can look at this and be like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. He's saying this, but look at the actionable stuff that he's doing. And Israel doesn't maintain the power with each one of those blows. Like, you can't argue that. There's no one that can argue that.
What do they got left? What do they got left? If AIPAC's gone, the neocons are gone, Epstein's Island's gone, the U.S. protection is gone, China and Russia are there.
That's a good question I have for you, Mike. What would you see as the next big blow to Israel?
I think eventually what's going to happen, they'll become so unpopular, and there'll be pressure both from within Israel and without to resolve this Palestinian thing. And like I said, I don't know if it'll be a 2-state or a 1-state, but it will be the end of that conflict. So their internal conflict will be ended, but already the external stuff, all this plotting, always plotting to attack Iran, Iraq, Sudan, even Somalia, Libya, Egypt, all this that's done. Thank God for that. That was their grand scheme. That's what 9/11 was all about.
So let me ask you this. What do you think Israel has planned to do to us before we get to elections?
They don't have that kind of muscle. They don't have that muscle anymore. I think whatever we see materialize that might be a little scary in these coming months, I got to do a whole nother show on this one. It'll be white hat.
Leave us with the cliffhanger. Leave us with the cliffhanger, Mike.
Don't be the white hats may be the ones scaring the hell out of people, pretending to be the black hats. Why? So people can see with their own eyes. It's a deprogramming process. So I'm feeling extremely optimistic. I think they're gone. I mean, I don't think this is Joe Biden in the White House at all. I think Trump's in total control, and this is what's going to come out here. I got these two these are on Amazon. Crash Course 9/11 Inside Job and Crash Course NWO 200 Years of the Globalist Conspiracy in just 1 hour. Each of these can be read in 1 hour, and it's important because it will provide a whole lot of context to what we spoke about, what we're speaking about here. So you combine that, the stuff that's at realnewsandhistory.com, and you begin to see where we are, and it's in a good place. If anybody's worried about Trump being in Netanyahu's pocket, trust me, he's not.
Read the headline, because he straight said, "Fuck him,
fuck him, fuck Netanyahu."
That was just hilarious.
And he went off on Adelson, okay, and now he's taking his widow's money. It's straight up Godfather stuff. Keep your friends close, your enemies closer. It's
straight up gangster. Mike, appreciate the conversation, you guys. realnewsandhistory.com. Link's been scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Link is down in the description. If you missed the first couple of shows I did with Mike, I'll link those there. You guys, 30 books that he has. You're talking fantastic information that if you wanted to get just the PDF version of it, $29 just to get you started. But I guarantee you, once you read those PDFs, you're going to be like, oh, I want some hard copies. I want some hard copies of this.
People collect them.
So with that, Mike, we got to get you on freaking X in these conversations. I got Ron pulled into a big space this last week, and he loved it. Ron don't stay up late. He don't stay up late. And this dude was up till like, I don't know, it seemed like 1 a.m. our time before he was like, I got to go. He loved it. I think you would love it. I know the people would appreciate you. Absolutely. Yeah. So with that, you guys, we ran this entire content, commercial free. So do me a favor, support the people, support this channel, and then go down in the links and support this man over here, because you see the work he's doing. Not a lot of people have the knowledge, let alone the courage to do it. So with that, I will catch you guys next time, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. God bless and good night, everybody.
When I started MyPillow, it was just a problem solution, one product company. Well, since then, with the help of my dedicated employees, we now have hundreds of products, some you might not even know about. To get the word out, we're having a $25 extravaganza. 2-pack multi-use MyPillows, $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. And for the first time ever, our 6-pack towel sets, you guessed it, just $25. Our brand new 4-pack dish towels, $25. And I've never done this before. Premium MyPillows with all new Giza fabric, any size, any loft level, even king size for only $25. And there's so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code for our $25 extravaganza. Order $75 and over. Your entire order ships absolutely free.
Science proves that a healthy immune system is the body's first defense against the smallest of ailments to the most catastrophic. Coriolus versicolor is the most sought-after, all-natural supplement for both humans and pets to help boost the immune system. There are over 400 studies worldwide on its effectiveness in humans, including Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, MD Anderson Cancer Center, and now from the University of Pennsylvania School of Veterinary Medicine. Together, we can help reverse this terrible tide now plaguing your loved ones and give them the immune-boosting supplements that they need.
Are you worried about the effects that higher inflation rates will have on your investments? Are you trying to secure your retirement savings against losses, but you notice that inflation is a hot topic these days? But how dangerous are low inflation rates on your retirement savings? An inflation rate of 2% may not seem like much, but it means that prices will just about quintuple over the lifetime of the average American. And 4% average inflation rate means that something that costs $1 when they're born will cost $23 when they die. That demonstrates the danger of even low inflation rates. So when it comes to gold and inflation rates, many investors want to know whether inflation rates have an effect on gold prices. What history indicates is that over the long term, increased inflation should lead to correspondingly higher gold prices. From September 1971 to August 2020, gold grew 7.5 times as much as inflation. Not only can an investment in physical gold help protect your assets against the damage done by inflation, it can also help grow the value of your retirement portfolio over the long term. If you're looking to protect your retirement assets, why wait until stock markets crash and gold begins to rise in price?
Have you ever wondered what it's like to be a January 6th political prisoner rotting away in horrible conditions? January 6th patriots are subject to cruel and unusual punishment every day and kept imprisoned for nearly 3 years without trial. These American heroes have to survive inhumane conditions where they lack basic food nutrients, clothing, and hygiene. Joe Biden's corrupt Department of Justice and FBI Gestapo has been making sure the families of these brave patriots are suffering as well. The breadwinner has been ripped out of the home, and these young families are being extorted thousands of dollars a year to keep up with commissary costs for their J6 prisoner. Many families have been completely devastated, missed mortgage payments and kicked out of their homes, and even the family car repossessed. The ongoing battle these families face to stay afloat and support their loved ones in prison is in desperate need of our help. You can now sponsor a January 6th family to help support them in their greatest time of need. SponsorJ6.com is a new organization started by January 6th political prisoner for 965 days, Jake Lang, ensuring 100% of funds made go to Patriots commissary accounts. By becoming a sponsor of a J6 family, you can ensure one of the nearly 200 currently incarcerated J6 prisoners is properly clothed and fed. Sign up today to give the vital help these families need and make a real impact in the lives of our POWs. Head to SponsorJ6.com and support our patriots.
President's former National Security Advisor, Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, pleading guilty today to lying to the FBI.
Flynn knew exactly how the system worked. He knew exactly what the intel world had been up to. He understood its funding. They had to get rid of Flynn.
There was a moment where I just felt like I was drowning. So I'm in there with these other political appointees. They're all supposed to go in there and tell what they believe to be the truth. What they did was they took my assessment and they wanted me to change it. And I was like, I'm not changing it.
He was, by definition, the most dangerous possible person for Donald Trump to hire.
President Obama said, but I do have one specific recommendation. Stay away from Michael Flynn. He's bad news.
Over time, instead of being pounded down below the surface of the ocean. We started to fight. I'm now above the surface.